Hi students, and this is me, the Irdam, and in this video, I am going to see the most important novels as per the competitive exams point of view, and for the UGC NET, SET, JRF, and other universities, and those who are preparing for such exams, they may be well aware that there are some novels which are almost asked everywhere. So those who are preparing for exams, they must go through these novels, either do their extensive reading or simply summaries, and then remember your first lines, because these novels are considered as classics, and you can't take a risk of skipping them while you're preparing for any exam. So in this video, I'm going to highlight 100 most important novels, and I would also highlight their date of publication, their author, and their lines. Without wasting our time, let us begin. In the list, the first novel is Moby Dick. It's the most important novel, and you shouldn't skip it. It was published in 1851, and its first line is "Call me Ismail." The second most important work is Pride and Prejudice, written by Jane Austen and published in 1813. And its first line is, "It is universally the truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife." Jane Austen, through this iconic line, shows the materialism of the 19th century England, and also uh, highlights the society which believes on the good fortune and economic prosperity. And it is the Austen who once said that 3 or 4 families in a hometown are enough for my storyline. So it is important work. The third one is "A Screaming Comes Across the Sky." It is a modern novel and written by Thomas Pynchon. Its title is Gravity's Rainbow, and it was published in 1973. So remember its first line also. The next is, many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that when his father took him to discover ice. So this is an important work by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and its title is 100 Years of Solitude, and it was published in 1967. So again, it is a realistic novel, and you must remember it, the whole novel, its summary, and its first line as well. In the list, the next uh, work is Lolita, and its famous character, Professor Humbert Humbert. Remember that character. Its first line is, "Lolita, light of my life, fire of my lines," and it was written by Vladimir Nabokov, and it was published in 1955. In the list, the next work is Anna Karenina, written by Leo Tolstoy, and it was published in 1877. So it is an important Russian work, and its very important line is, happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. The next work is Finnegan's Wake, written by James Joyce in 1939. And its plot is important because it is in a circular narrative. Remember that. And its first line is, river run past even Adams, from swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by commodious vicus of recursion back to Howth Castle and environs. So remember this whole work. It is important. The next most important work is 1984, written by George Orwell, and it was published in 1949. Its most important and first line is, it was a bright cold day in April, and clocks were striking 13. The next, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. And this iconic line is written by Charles Dickens in A Tale of Two Cities, and it's the very first line of this novel, published in 1859. So there are other works also which are published in 1859, because the UGC mostly asks the chronological questions. So remember that Evolution of Species by Darwin was also published in 1859. Then On Women was also published in 1859, written by J.S. Mill. Next in this list comes The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. It was published in 1952, and its very first line is, I am an invisible man. So remember it. Now, the next most important work is Miss Lonely Heart, written by Nathaniel West and published in 1933. And its first line is, the Miss Lonely Hearts of the New York Post Dispatch. Are you in trouble? Do you need advice? So this is another important work. Go through its first complete stanza and remember its summary as well. The next work is by Mark Twain, who writes Samuel Clemens as the pseudonym, and because here are his series of around 5 novels, and they are Adventure of Huckleberry Finn. So it was published in 1885, and its first line is, you don't know about me without you have read a book by the name of The Adventure of Tom Sawyer, but that and no matter. So remember this work, because in this classical work, Mark Twain talks about the Negro, the black communities, and also the discrimination faced by black Americans. Then in this list comes a famous work, The Trial by Franz Kafka, and it was published in 1925. And this is the most representative work of absurdist literature. And its first line is, someone must have slandered Joseph K. for one morning without having done anything truly wrong. He was arrested. Next is a famous work, If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, published in 1979 by Italo Calvino. And its iconic first line is, you are about to begin reading Italo Calvino's new novel, If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. Then the next novella is by Samuel Beckett, entitled Murphy, published in 1938. And its first line is, the sun shone, having no alternative, on the nothing new. Also, there is a famous work by Samuel Beckett, that is The Waiting for Godot. Go through that work also. And there is a question for you, that Samuel Beckett wrote a poetry collection, Horoscope. So the horoscope caricatures one of the most important philosopher of 16th century. Find out who is the philosopher. The next in the list is, if you really want to hear about it, the first thing you will probably want to know is where I was born, and what my rosy childhood was like, and how my parents were occupied, and all before they had me. And all that David Copperfield kind of crap, but I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth. Another important work by J.D. Salinger, entitled The Catcher in the Rye. It was published in 1951. So go through this first line and its summary as well, because this work is asked in every exam. So it's a classical work. Next in the list is a famous work by James Joyce, who is known for stream of consciousness technique. And its title is A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, published in 1916. Its most famous, iconic first line is, once upon a time, and a very good time, it was during a moko coming down along the road, and this moko that was coming down along the road met a nice little boy named Baby Tuk. So remember this first line and its whole summary as well. Next in this list is a famous work by Maddox Ford, titled The Good Soldier, published in 1915. And its first line is, this is the saddest story I have ever heard. So it is another important work. Then we have Tristram Shandy, written by Lawrence Stern in 1759 to 1767. And it is another important work. And its work and its first line is, I wish either my father or my mother, or indeed both of them, as they were in duty both equally born to it, had minded what they were about when they begot. Had they duly considered how much depended upon what they were then doing, that's not only the production of a rational being was concerned in it. So it's another important work. Go through the whole summary. Don't risk to skip it. Then next in this list is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, and it was published in 1850. Whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life, or whether that station will be held by anybody else, these pages must show. So this is another important work. which you shouldn't skip if you are going to appear in any exam. And this work is autobiographical uh, of Charles Dickens, and 1850 is important with reference to Alfred Lord Tennyson, because he published a most he published the most important work of Victorian age, that is uh, In Memoriam. So go through that work also. Then next in this list is another work by James Joyce, Ulysses, written in 1922. And this 1922 is important because Eugene O'Neill published The Hairy Ape in 1922. Then uh, T.S. Eliot published The Wasteland in 1922. So the first line of this novel is stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead bearing a bowl of leather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. So it is another important work. Don't skip it. Then next is the Paul Clifford by Edward George Bulwer Lytton, published in 1830. And its first line is, it was a dark and stormy night. The rain fell in torrents, except at occasional intervals when it was checked by a violent gust of wind which swept up the streets. For it is in London that our scene lies, rattling along the housetops and fiercely agitating the scented flame of the lamps that struggled against the darkness. So don't skip its summary. Then next in this list is The Crying of Lord 49 by Thomas Pynchon, written in 1966. And its first important line is, one summer afternoon, Miss Odipa Mas came home from a Tupperware party whose hostess had put perhaps too much kiss in the font to find that she, Odipa, had been named executor, or she supposed executress. So it's another other important work, and the character of Odipa Mas is also important. Go through the whole work. Then next in this list is City of Glass, written by Paul Auster in 1985, and its important first line is, it was a wrong number that started it, the telephone ringing 3 times in the dead of night, and the voice on the other end asking for someone who was not. Go through the summary of this work also. Then next in this list is Through the Fence Between the Curling Flower Spaces. I could see them hitting. It is the first line of The Sound and Fury by William Faulkner, published in 1929, and Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own was also published in 1929. So this work is important for different exams point of view. Don't skip this. And I end this video here, and hoping that I would continue this series till the 100 most important novels, your writers, your first line, and your date of publication. Be connected with this channel. And video is going to be very informative for you. And I would also upload the content and videos related to other texts, the 100 most important characters, and the 100 most important dramas, other poetical works. So be connected with this channel, and because it takes a lot of energy and courage to record any video. So I request you to subscribe this channel and like and share. See you next time.